What on earth is snack time without milk? Now, some Connecticut lawmakers are considering a bill that would ban daycare centers from serving whole milk or 2% milk to kids, saying it will fight obesity. But is milk really bad for our kids? Joining us this morning from our Beacon Hill studio is Skylar Griggs, a registered dietitian at Boston Children's Hospital. Thanks so much for joining us this morning, Skylar.
Thanks for having me, Sherry.
So what do you think about this? Because I don't know when milk all of a sudden became the bad guy.
Well, I think it's important to remember that the American Academy of Pediatrics recommends not introducing reduced fat milk before 2 years of age. But it's also important to remember that milk, regardless of its fat content, is equal in calcium and vitamin D across the board. With regards to the ban, for children that are normal weight or underweight, I don't think that this ban is going to fix the problem. I would much rather see daycares reducing the amount of chicken nuggets, pizza, and French fries than 2% or whole milk.
You know what I found so interesting about this? My kids are small, and our pediatrician actually told us to continue to feed them whole milk. So, you know, I got to agree with you. For the kids that are underweight, maybe not going to help them so much. What about the kids under 6 months?
So for babies that are under 6 months, we recommend exclusive breastfeeding or giving them iron-fortified infant formula. And I think that you raised a great point. You know, the decision to use reduced fat or whole milk is really up to the parents and the pediatrician, and I don't believe should be a recommendation of the daycare.
Okay, fair enough. Now, what about those of us who grew up in the Galt milk era? I think it's such a familiar slogan to so many of us. Now,
right.
New information and non-dairy options can be totally confusing. So
Absolutely.
What are some of the alternatives that you can kind of recommend and explain?
So, you know, there's so many options out there. Almond milk, coconut milk, soy milk, the list goes on. What you want to look for is something that's fortified with calcium and vitamin D, has a comparable amount of protein that milk would have. When we think about milk alternatives that are higher in protein, soy milk tends to be a bit higher. Coconut and almond milk tend to have a creamier consistency, and some flax and hemp milks can be fortified or added with omega-3s.
Now, will some of those be easier to digest for kids than other ones?
You know, it just depends. If a child is whey or casein free, they must restrict dairy. And again, that's something to speak about with the pediatrician. But what you want to make sure of is that if you are someone who's restricting dairy from your child's diet, you speak with the pediatrician about supplementation of calcium or vitamin D.
Okay, now switching gears on you here, what are your feelings about juice?
So a really good rule of thumb is about 4 grams of sugar is a sugar cube or a sugar packet. And some juices have between 30 and 40 grams of sugar in an 8-ounce cup. That's up to 10 packets of sugar. At Boston Children's Hospital, we always say we'd rather you eat the fruit than drink the juice. I'd much rather see families making their own sugar-free juice alternatives.
And I'm sure that goes for mom, dad, and the kids, right?
Exactly.
All right, what about these 100% juice options that are out there? Is that still something you'd rather to see us eating the actual fruit instead?
I think eating the fruit is best. For children 1 to 6 years old, 4 to 6 ounces of juice a day is all right, but I think we should really use that as a cutoff point.
Okay, so now when it comes to milk and juice, is that really where diets are going wrong with kids?
You know, I think there's many branches to this tree, but I think that you can make a change on your own with summer coming up by providing some sugar-free juice alternatives. Get kids involved in the process, making fruit, using cut up fresh fruit and adding it to water with some fresh herbs, muddling it at home on your own. There's so many combinations you can do. Strawberry and basil, raspberry lime, pineapple mint, and by getting kids involved in the process, it allows them to have fun, and they like to drink what they're making.
Okay, Skylar, now officially my mouth is watering. This sounded absolutely delicious. Hey, thanks so much for all the information today.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Melissa.